Exciting signings and streaks aside, the only thing that truly matters for the Calgary Flames now is where the ping pong balls fall in the draft lottery.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. I am Ryan G. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Our official opponent jersey power rankings, as we do on Mondays, who had the best look of the three teams that competed against the Flames over the last 7 days. And Morgan Frost hits a career-high 21 goals. His breakout has gone well with the exceeding expectations of Matvei Gridin on that line. But we start with the fact that just really none of this matters until the draft lottery. The Calgary Flames have had some interesting moments in the last few weeks. You had the point streak that spanned the stretch at home at the Scotiabank Saddledome. You had a complete thrashing at Colorado. They did not look good against the Colorado Avalanche. And then, of course, the weird delay in between periods against the Golden Knights. Even some exciting signings. You have Jonathan Castagna joining. You have Axel Hurtig joining over from the WHL. It's an exciting and changing and evolving time over the last month. I mean, this is Monday, April 6th that we record this episode. Exactly a month ago is when the trade deadline happened. And the reality is, no matter how optimistic you are, how eager you are to see the future of the Calgary Flames, none of it matters until you get the finality that comes with the NHL Draft Lottery that's happening on May 4th. You could look at something like Matvei Gridin, right? This is a guy who was signed by the Calgary Flames, drafted rather by the Calgary Flames, and is exceeding expectations, is doing some things that maybe you didn't expect him to do. Even look at the article that was written, I believe Kent Wilson put it out for the Calgary Herald on Monday, looking at some ranges where if you try to analytically look at the Calgary Flames and some of the things that are going on for them and how to judge young players, Matvei Gridin is in a tier that's up there with some popular names. He's not exceptional. He's not a Nate McKinnon by any means, but he's somebody who is doing things as a 19, 20-year-old that are really exciting and give you lots of reason to be optimistic about the future. Ryan Strome, Oli Mata, those are two guys that came over during draft trade deadline deals. And so far, they've arguably exceeded expectations for what the Calgary Flames likely needed from them, let alone expected from them. And those are just two little snippets of this last month of Calgary Flames hockey that have given the Flames, reason to be optimistic. Some on Team Tank to even be a little bit more concerned because the fact that this is a team that isn't supposed to be winning. And here they are putting together, 4 wins in a row, 5 victories over the course of a 6-game homestand, scoring points in every single one of those games. You're not supposed to be doing that, screams Team Tank, but Calgary is still in the best position that they can possibly be to draft at least second in the NHL entry draft and still have good opportunities to be able to have this team go forward and build with the draft lottery. And I think that's the point, is none of this really matters, no matter the interesting moments that Calgary has had and moments to find that optimism or find that little sliver of excitement. Even when Zane Parekh has been at his best, right? Is that something that Calgary really is benefiting from? And the answer is no, in the sense that it could all be wiped away if all of a sudden those ping pong balls say Calgary is picking 6th, right? That's the part that's really frustrating about this whole experience, is lots of reasons to be excited and lots of reasons to believe that the good things are around the corner. But yeah, it's just not the reality. The reality is the NHL Draft Lottery is what matters by and large. Look at those two signings, Jonathan Castagna and Alex Hurtig, even the Tyson Gross signing, right? Getting somebody who was arguably the prized free agent when it came to who was available in the college world that you could sign as a free agent. And all of those things seem to lean toward reasons to be eager for this rebuild to kind of be in its second, maybe even third year, because you're going to see all these pieces come together. What will happen when North Dakota's college hockey season comes to a close, which is supposed to be at some point this week, where we might see Abram Wiebe join this team as well. Even what you get out of the guy from the Hitmen with Hurtig at 6'5" and somebody who decided to come over and start competing in Calgary, being part of the WHL system, and you become somebody who, can be another blue line piece for this Calgary Flames team as a 7th round pick. Like, those things should be reason for excitement, but I just know, and too, that the moment that those ping pong balls come down, and all of a sudden, before you know it, Calgary is picking 3rd or 4th, even that 5th spot is a place where right now it's kind of hard to even imagine the Flames being in that position. But what if they are, right? Then you're even out of those top 3 picks that everyone's so excited about, whether you're wanting Gavin McKenna, full stop, no debate whatsoever, or you're looking more at Stenberg or Veerhoff. And then you get into some of the projections that we've shared with you on this show, and we will continue to look at with NHL, Locked On NHL prospects. Those are things that just won't matter ultimately until the draft lottery happens. One other thing that I found was interesting is I was watching the Golden Knights game, and Calgary had, 3 goals on the board. It was tied 3-3. Calgary had led, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, right? And there's this streak that's out there where Calgary is able to score 4 goals. They've won 56 straight games now because of what happened in Anaheim over the weekend. But at a point against Vegas, I was concerned. It's like, oh no, don't score, right? Don't get that 4th goal, because I don't see them winning this game, especially once it was 5-3, right? Could you imagine if Calgary had found a way to make that game 5-4 and ultimately they ended up scoring one more time for a 6th goal in that game? That would have been frustrating to lose that streak, because it's kind of a fun little footnote. It's just something else to kind of root for in a season that's dead, because Calgary is not a playoff team. You wouldn't want them to be a playoff team. They're not going to compete in the postseason. Even if they had made it, it's going to be similar to what we've expected in years past. Even if Calgary's team a year ago had made the postseason, what's going to happen, right? Maybe they win a game. Maybe they even take it to 7 games, but you don't expect them to leave that first round. This gives us something kind of fun to look at. And so will it continue? The stretch of the schedule that Calgary has before it, Dallas starting on Tuesday, Colorado, maybe the Seattle game, I could see Calgary putting 4 goals in against the Kraken. Utah, Colorado, Los Angeles, I could see maybe 2 of those 3 games also potentially having an opportunity for at least 1 4-goal output. So there's a chance Calgary has that streak come to a close. Maybe they extend it to closer to 60 at 58 games even over the course of the last few games of the regular season. So all interesting things that just don't matter. I mean, this draft lottery has to happen, and we're at least less than a month away from that milestone to be able to get some clarity on what's going to happen with this Calgary Flames squad. Who the Flames do pick up in the NHL Draft Lottery, and more specifically the draft, will make this picture of the rebuild even more clear. But Morgan Frost has had some recent success. Is it something to make you think, I can't imagine a future without Morgan Frost? We'll hear from him and his head coach as we explore that next on this episode of Locked On Flames. There is nothing like being in an NBA arena with the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple, and that's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. All my experiences with the Game Time app have been awesome, because I looked at my phone, figured out exactly where I wanted to sit, was able to watch a game at Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. It was right there, a fun football game. And this is how it works for NBA tickets too. You can get your tickets locked in within minutes. You can see the all-in price up front. There's no surprise fees at checkout. And you have to look at the zone deals, because you choose a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. Everything's quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Morgan Frost hits a career milestone, 21 goals scored. It's the most ever for the Flames forward guy who came over from Philadelphia and had talked about how close he was a few seasons back, and finally gets that with 2 goals against the Anaheim Ducks. You got to check out our Everydayer Club. It is the place to be with the Locked On Podcast Network. Definitely something that benefits you as a Flames fan, because we have our members-only Discord server. This is where you can go in and talk to any of the Locked On Podcast hosts. Of course, continue to interact with us on Locked On Flames. You get our show ad-free on your favorite podcast app. So there really is no downside. It's super affordable at $5 a month. It benefits the show, and it gives you this insider access that you're looking for. So please tap on the show notes to learn more, or go to lockedonflames.supercast.com. How about Morgan Frost? Second period, finds another goal on this stretch that he's been on in March and April. 20 goals for the season, and then later on puts in goal number 21. Really cool to see him finally get this thing that's been elusive. And he talked to NHL Flames on X about winning the game against Anaheim first and foremost, but also him hitting this career milestone.
Yeah, I think Cool's obviously made some big saves for us, but we were opportunistic in the second period, and I think the first 10 minutes of the third period we were pretty locked down, and you knew they were going to come. It was a big game for them, and found a way to win in the third. So happy with the effort. A lot of great efforts, big blocks, and like I said, Cool's was awesome. I hope one day I can score 30, but 20 is very cool for me. Definitely not really something that I ever thought I would do. So I build for the next milestone, and it's cool for tonight. But like I said, for sure, nice to get the win, and got to give credit to my teammates for getting me to 20, I guess.
I find that incredibly interesting. They said something like, it's not something I expected to do. Maybe that's because he had that experience of being stuck at 19 with the Flyers. I want to say it was the 2022-23 season off the top of my head, and just couldn't get past that point. And now to finally be able to do that, I imagine has to be pretty outstanding. And this is the thing about this stretch of time with the Calgary Flames, because nothing really matters as much as the NHL Draft Lottery does. No matter how good Morgan Frost has been, until we know exactly who the Calgary Flames are adding with this potential generational talent that they've never had before, no picks in the top 3 over the course of the Calgary franchise. The Morgan Frost thing is fun to watch. It's also exciting that it happened, right? That's a big difference between, hey, Morgan Frost almost got another 20-goal season versus, at his pace with 7 games to go at this point, there's a chance we might see Frosty go to 25, right? He even talked about being a 30-goal scorer, which, again, I could see that definitely not happening this year. That would require just a Herculean effort over the last 6 games, beg your pardon. But with him going for 3 in April, 6 in March, you have 9 over the course of the last month of play to go with those 5 assists that he had in March as well. That's pretty impressive stuff. And it gives you a lot of reason to love Matvei Gridin, Matt Coronato, and Frost on this line. Ryan Huska talked about that line specifically with NHL Flames on X. And as you look at the future trajectory, imagine if this line is the start of one of those lines that has a huge impact on the franchise.
I don't think there was anything in particular. I think there was a few situations. We had a fortunate change on Morgan's goal where we were able to sneak in behind the back end, and then trying to get pucks in behind their defensemen. Like they're aggressive with how they stay up, so we wanted to try to play behind them and found a way to create a few opportunities, and then the guys made some nice plays in those odd man rush situations tonight. I thought he was much better. His last couple of games, I feel like his pace overall has dipped a little bit. Tonight he was back where he was noticeable, and I thought he was assertive, and he made some really nice plays with the puck.
That one line was really good. Were there any of the other lines that you liked tonight after all that shuffling?
Yeah, the Frost line, as you mentioned, I thought they had a really good night. They were dangerous when they were out there. Michael Backlund's line played hard for the most part. I thought they were good for us. And then the Strome line was fine for us as well. They did some good things while they were on the ice too.
There's a big difference between fine and then being excited about a line, and that's what you have with Frost, Coronato, and Gridin. I mean, signed through 2027 and 28 for Gridin, and then you have Frost basically an unrestricted free agent after the end of next season, with Coronato having the longest extension out of all of those players. Imagine if Frost does end up re-signing, goes on some sort of 4-year contract. Maybe it's a little bit longer. I mean, he's still relatively young. Want to say he's at 26, maybe almost 27. So you get him on a 4-year deal or something along those lines, maybe even 6, and you extend him into that next decade of Flames hockey. Maybe this is a line that ends up being one of those things of legend. I mean, it's definitely possible. I don't think it's probable by any means. There's no reason to think that Morgan Frost is going to be better next year than he was any given year, just because a lot of times that's just not how this happens. But I do find it interesting. 76 games, 41 points. He's only 5 back of his career high pace when he went for 19 goals, 27 assists back in that 2022-23 season. Maybe there's something there that he's kind of on an upswing in his career. It's definitely possible, but I don't think there's any reason to actually bank on it, just because, a lot of fans, maybe you weren't this way. You can let me know in the YouTube comments. I certainly was. I was thinking, hey, Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, those moves that they made for the Flyers players didn't work out. It's just one of those trades that didn't work out, much like arguably the trade for Jonathan Huberdeau is likely not going to work out. I mean, even if Hubie has a stellar year next year, cumulatively, especially with Mackenzie Weegar now gone with the Flames, it probably wasn't a trade that worked out. It was maybe the best thing that could happen. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk in so many ways gave Calgary a little bit of a nudge that he didn't necessarily have to do. And there's an argument to be made that Brad Treliving didn't get it done, right? He didn't get what needed to be done with the franchise to happen. And that's why Calgary is going into full rebuild at this point, because of a failure to get something done that needed to be done. And the same kind of thing with the Frost and Farabee trade. It doesn't feel like it worked out the way that Calgary hoped. Maybe it was a flyer, all things considered. No pun intended. But maybe it's going to work out because Morgan Frost has played so well over the course of the last month and a week. That's a small sample size to rely on the fact that it will definitely happen, but I could see reason to believe that it's possible because he is fairly young. So if I have to choose, I would like them to re-sign him. I don't think I want to see him become a trade piece. I'd rather see them sign him and have him be a core, especially if for some reason there's something about him that's bringing out the best in Matvei Gridin. If that's the case, that's worth keeping. And anything that's going to help that younger generation. If someone was there and valuable for Zane Parekh, maybe that was the case with the pairing that he had, putting him and Kuznetsov on the same line. Maybe that's what you do, right? Anything that helps these generational players that Calgary is trying to make happen work. That's ideal. One other note from the AHL, Calgary Wranglers forward Rory Kerins was named the AHL Player of the Week. I would love to see Rory get one more crack at this NHL roster for sure. 2 games against the North Division leading team. And 7 of the Wranglers' 8 goals he was in as a contribution to that. So pretty cool stuff for the 23-year-old with 3 goals and 4 assists in just 2 games with the Wranglers last week. And hopefully we'll see that 6th rounder get a chance to get back into the mix after an all-star season back in 2025. Official opponent jersey power rankings. Who had the best looks, the best aesthetics against the Calgary Flames last week? We explore that next on this episode of Locked On Flames. The Colorado Avalanche, Vegas Golden Knights, and Anaheim Ducks all on their home ice as we look at the official opponent jersey power rankings. Who was your favorite look from the last week of Flames hockey? Let us know in our YouTube poll, as we always put a look at the jerseys, and you can vote and decide. And I can't wait for some of the off-season content too, because we can expand this, maybe do a jersey ranking kind of bracket. I know those are popular, maybe even some tier lists with you, and we can include that in our Everydayer Club as well. John Easthope of Red Mile Rundown will join us on Tuesday's episode. You can get the newest episode of their podcast by going to YouTube, The Red Mile Rundown Podcast is the username. And please make sure you subscribe as well, because that does a lot for all of our content. And certainly if you haven't already, because I know many people listen to our show without subscribing, please click the subscriber button, because that helps us get to 1,000 subscribers, which is our goal by the end of the regular season, which is just weeks away. Let's start with the Colorado Avalanche. They had the jerseys on their home ice with the broad, dark red and blue shoulders. The Avs logo has been one of my favorites. I thought they did a nice job with that as soon as that franchise emerged in the 1990s. And while I don't love the gray striping that goes down all the way to the hand holes and kind of runs around the back, I don't mind the full panel that they have that has the blue all the way from the end of the arms from one side over the shoulders and back down. I don't want the gray stripe there. I think the gray stripe is not needed, but I think it's designed to kind of counterbalance what's going on at the waistline. This red is a very unique color. It's kind of funny because Vegas has its own signature color, and then Anaheim is leaning into the orange, which I can't complain about given the fact that, you know, I work for a school that is also an orange focused school, and orange is the best color. And so I like teams that kind of lean into that, but all of those things to say, that stripe is probably the most distracting piece of it. I think it almost makes it look like a triangle on their jerseys. The Colorado C up on the shoulders, I know that that's super popular just because, you know, being a Denver Broncos fan, this much 5280 and Colorado State flag that you can incorporate into uniforms, the better. It just makes an awkward kind of midsection. They even have a little slight angle that goes up on the sides of the jerseys with that gray stripe. So I think it's the worst part of the uniform. Other than that, signature red, dark red, I don't know if they have a name for it. They probably do. And then that blue that kind of pops on the shoulders. I do like that look for the Avalanche. And so this isn't an awful jersey. It's probably in the B, maybe even B. I don't think it's a B plus. I think it's a B, could drop to even as low as like a B minus. I also really like, by the way, their numbers. I think the number font that they have is pretty fun. And that's actually a good place to start with Vegas, because they have too much going on in these jerseys. They have a gold that looks more like, I don't know, it's not quite mustardy. It's a little muted in the mustard. It's supposed to be as gold as possible. I also don't like the gray numbers on the back, and I don't love that their numbers are on that gray panel on the side. They're visible, and that's really helpful. I think of it through the lens of a play-by-play broadcaster. I mean, I imagine Dave on TV and looking through the binoculars and his spotter and everything like that. It's really helpful to be able to see those numbers, because the gold with the gray on the back doesn't always pop necessarily. They're not the worst jersey numbers, and I think of it again through that lens of readability. All of my heart pours out to the stats folks, because that is the team that has the hardest time when numbers don't pop on the back of jerseys. But this thing is it just feels like so much of a mess. I mean, there's even like some of the red that comes out on the base of the cuffs. Where else is it? It doesn't really merge with anything else. It's not mimicked at the waistline. It actually almost matches the Flames red. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And so while I like the Vegas Golden Knights logo, and I think the front of their jerseys is pretty clean, they even have something up on the shoulders that makes it distracting. The home jerseys for the Golden Knights is probably closer to a D plus for me than anything else. I can't remember exactly where I put their home uniforms, or their away uniforms, but I remember that arm cuff is problematic there too. But gray numbers on gold, just not a good look. And overall, it's just not a winning jersey. So they're getting more of a D plus from me than anything. And then you go to Anaheim over the weekend. Again, full commitment to orange. I appreciate it. You have a color. You can own a color. They shifted to that look a while back, which is awesome. Very good logo. The original Mighty Ducks logo still looks pretty cool. Plus, they incorporated the other logo up on the shoulders, which I think is unnecessary for their jersey, but it's not as chaotic as some of the other things that you see up on the shoulders. I think the Avs, for example, probably looks better than that on this home Ducks jersey, but a lot of bright orange. I really do like the font that they use for the numbers on the Ducks jerseys, but much like they have on their road jerseys too, it's kind of a weird drop shadow thing that just doesn't work as well. I appreciate the arm cuffs matching the waistline, trying to go with the black, then white, then gold. And the gold actually is incorporated elsewhere in the kind of back of the Anaheim Ducks front logo. The numbers on the sleeves are visible. They look better on the orange than they do on the white jerseys, so I give them credit for that. Also, big shout out to the mask for the goaltender for Anaheim. So that's a pretty good look as well. All things considered, this is probably closer to a B- for me, maybe a C+, just because the drop shadow on the numbers has never really rang true, and I still think it's kind of busy. There's just too much stuff that's going on from neck hole down to armhole. Just the stuff on the sleeves, there's too much of it, although it's fairly well balanced and kind of clean. So yeah, I think the best look, Avs for sure. And I think I like all the fact for all the franchises that they're trying to own a color. It's just that the Golden Knights, the gray and a little bit of red, I'm just not vibing with. And so I think that's the worst set from the entire stretch of the last three opponents for the Calgary Flames. Let us know what you think in our YouTube comments. And again, thank you for subscribing to the show. We have 6 games left. April 16th, we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It is a tough task, but you can make it happen. If you're hearing that call to action for the first time, please click the subscribe button because it would help us out immensely. And of course, continue to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app as well, because we bring you this podcast each and every day to make it your first listen. And if you never miss an episode, lockedonflames.supercast.com is the place to go where you can join us in our everydayer club. It gives you access to the show ad-free on your favorite podcast app and a members-only Discord server where you can talk to other fans of Locked On shows and the Locked On Podcast Network hosts themselves. Check it out at lockedonflames.supercast.com or click on the show notes to learn more. For those of you on video, I'm going to send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. For those on audio, please make your second listen NHL Game Night with Locked On NHL. My name is Ryan G. Thanks for having fun with us. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday, including John Easthope of Red Mile Rundown Podcast. Until then, wish you the best rest of your day that you can have.